There comes a moment in life when you look around and realize you can't keep living the same story. The faces, the routines, the emotions, they all feel familiar but empty. And in that silence, a thought begins to whisper, what if I started over? Starting a new life isn't about running away from who you were. It's about stepping into who you're meant to become. It's not about forgetting the past, it's about forgiving it. Because you can't move forward while dragging the weight of what broke you. You have to release it. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. A new life doesn't arrive wrapped in certainty or comfort. It starts with one terrifying, beautiful choice to believe that something better is still possible for you. It's about waking up one morning and deciding that this day, this moment is the beginning of your comeback story. You may not know where you're going yet. You may not see the full path ahead, but that's okay, because every new life begins the same way. One step, one decision, one breath at a time. And today that decision could be yours. Change begins the moment you decide that your past no longer defines your future. This is the exact moment your life starts to shift, not when circumstances change, not when someone gives you permission, but when you make the decision within yourself that your story isn't over. Most people spend their lives trapped in patterns of regret, replaying old mistakes like they're watching a movie they can't turn off. They let who they were dictate who they think they can become. But transformation doesn't begin with external progress. It begins with internal permission. The moment you decide that your past has no control over your direction, you free yourself from the invisible chains that keep you stuck in place. The truth is, your past is only as powerful as the meaning you give it. You can see it as evidence that you're broken or as proof that you've survived. You can see it as an anchor holding you down or as a lesson that prepares you for something greater. The same experiences that once caused pain can become the foundation for your strength if you choose to redefine them. That choice, though simple, changes everything. It's the difference between living as a prisoner of memory or as an architect of possibility. People often wait for the perfect time to change, but there is no perfect time. The perfect time is the moment you decide you've had enough of living beneath your potential. The instant you realize you don't need validation, apologies, or closure to move forward. You take back your power. You begin to understand that you are not the same person who made those choices, faced those failures, or endured those losses. You've evolved, grown, and learned, and now you get to redefine what your future looks like. The beauty of deciding that your past doesn't define you is that it creates space for new possibilities to enter your life. You start to notice opportunities where before there were only limitations. You stop viewing yourself through the lens of what went wrong and start imagining what could go right. This mental shift is the foundation of renewal. It's the seed of every comeback story, every second chance, every reinvention. The past will always exist, but its influence fades when you stop feeding it with attention. Your energy moves where your focus goes. And when you finally choose to focus on what's ahead instead of what's behind, you step into the freedom to begin again. Starting over isn't weakness. It's the purest form of courage. It takes immense strength to look at the pieces of your life, admit that something isn't working, and decide to begin again. Most people mistake endurance for strength. They think holding on, no matter how painful or empty, is what makes them strong. But true courage lies in letting go of what's familiar and stepping into the unknown. It's easy to stay in situations that feel safe, even when they're unfulfilling, because the mind finds comfort in predictability. The real act of bravery is walking away from what's known to make space for what's possible. When you choose to start over, you are acknowledging a deep truth, that your life is still capable of more. You're refusing to let the past define the limits of your potential. That decision doesn't come from weakness or failure. It comes from self-respect. It's the understanding that you deserve a life that aligns with who you truly are, not who you once pretended to be. Courage isn't loud or dramatic. It often shows up quietly in the moment you decide to stop settling, stop pretending, and stop waiting for permission to change. There's a common belief that starting over means erasing everything that came before, but that's not true. It's not about forgetting your past. It's about learning from it. Every experience, even the painful ones, carries wisdom that becomes fuel for your new beginning. The strength you develop while healing, rebuilding, and finding yourself again is a strength no one can take from you. You're not starting from nothing. You're starting from experience, from clarity, and from growth. That's the kind of foundation that can't be shaken. Courage doesn't always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like fear. uncertainty and doubt all tangled together. But courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. It's looking at the unknown and saying, I'm still going. That decision alone transforms you. It rewires your mind to believe impossibility again, to trust your ability to rebuild, and to create meaning where there once was loss. Every time you choose to start over, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances. You reclaim your power piece by piece, choice by choice. And even though the process may be slow, every step you take is a declaration that you refuse to live a life defined by fear or regret. In that quiet determination lies the truest form of courage, the courage to begin again, no matter how many times it takes. A new life doesn't begin with a plan, it begins with a decision. People often believe that to start over, they need everything figured out. The perfect strategy, the right timing, the detailed roadmap that guarantees success. But life doesn't work that way. You can spend years waiting for the right moment, trying to prepare for every outcome, and still end up standing in the same place. Real change begins the second you decide that you're ready to move forward, even if you have no idea what comes next. It's not the clarity of the path that matters, it's the conviction to take the first step. When you make a firm decision to start a new life, you activate something powerful within yourself, momentum. That single choice sets energy into motion, changing the way you think, speak, and act. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You start attracting the right people and experiences that align with your new direction. The universe, in its own mysterious way, begins to respond to a mind that has finally made up its mind. The power of decision is the spark that ignites transformation, because until you commit, everything stays potential and nothing becomes real. People who wait to feel ready never move forward, because readiness is an illusion. There will never be a time when you feel completely certain, safe, or prepared to rebuild your life. The discomfort of change is part of the process. It's proof that growth is happening. You don't need to know the whole plan. You just need to take the next right step. Once you do, the next one becomes visible, and then the next. Each small movement forward builds confidence, and that confidence slowly turns into belief. A decision to start anew is an act of faith, not necessarily faith in something external, but faith in yourself. It's trusting that you have what it takes to figure things out along the way. It's believing that no matter how many times you've fallen, you still have the strength to rise. When you decide to let go of excuses, fears, and doubts, you stop being a passenger in your life and become its author. That shift changes everything, because decisions define destiny. You don't need the perfect conditions to start. You just need the courage to say, I'm ready now. Every major transformation begins with that one quiet moment of decision. Once you've made it, life starts to unfold in ways you could never have predicted, and slowly, the decision to begin becomes the foundation of the life you were always meant to live. Every ending is secretly a beginning in disguise. Life has a way of closing doors that we thought would stay open forever. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. But often, what feels like the end is actually life clearing space for something new to emerge. The pain of losing something, whether it's a dream, a person, or a version of yourself, creates the very room your next chapter needs to grow. Endings are not punishments. They are transformations in progress. When something leaves your life, it's not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it's life's way of redirecting you toward a path that aligns more deeply with who you are becoming. When we experience an ending, our first instinct is to resist. We hold on tightly to what's familiar because uncertainty feels threatening. But clinging to what's gone only prolongs the pain. The truth is, nothing in life stays the same forever. People change, seasons shift, opportunities evolve, and so must you. The sooner you accept that endings are natural, the sooner you begin to see their hidden beauty. An ending can teach you strength, clarity, and resilience. It forces you to ask deeper questions about who you are and what you truly want. Without endings, you would never be pushed to grow beyond your comfort zone. The most profound beginnings often rise from moments of loss and chaos. When everything you thought you needed disappears, you are left face to face with yourself. And in that stillness, you discover something remarkable. You're capable of more than you realized. You learn to rebuild, to create meaning from pain, and to trust that every setback is preparing you for a breakthrough. The ending of one phase is simply the seed of another, waiting for you to nurture it with hope and courage. Every ending contains lessons that shape your next beginning. It teaches you what to value, what to let go of, and what truly matters. What once broke you begins to build you, and the darkness that once scared you becomes the space where light is born. When you stop viewing endings as losses and start seeing them as invitations to evolve, you step into a new kind of freedom. You realize that the story doesn't stop when something ends, it just changes direction. The ending is not the final page, it's the turning of one, and beyond it lies a chapter that you were always meant to write. The power to reinvent yourself lies in taking small, consistent steps forward. Most people believe that transformation happens through grand gestures or life-altering decisions, but real change is built quietly, one small action at a time. It's the little habits, the daily choices, the silent promises you keep to yourself that shape the person you become. Reinvention doesn't happen overnight. It's the gradual unfolding of who you are beneath the noise of old routines and limiting beliefs. The most powerful shifts are rarely dramatic. They are consistent, intentional, and deeply personal. When you decide to start a new life, it's natural to want immediate results. You crave visible proof that your efforts are working, but lasting change doesn't rush. It grows through patience and persistence. A single act of discipline, repeated over time, rewires your mind and reshapes your reality. You begin to trust yourself again because every step, no matter how small, becomes evidence that you are moving forward. The process of reinvention is less about speed and more about direction. As long as you keep moving, even if it's slow, you're still progressing toward a life that feels more aligned with your true self. The beauty of small steps is that they're manageable. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to focus on what's right in front of you. Each morning you wake up with the decision to do one thing better than yesterday. You are rewriting your story. It could be as simple as getting up earlier, speaking kindly to yourself, learning something new, or letting go of one negative habit. These micro actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they accumulate into transformation. You become stronger, clearer, and more confident in who you are becoming. Consistency builds identity. The more you follow through on your intentions, the more your brain starts to believe in your new path. You begin to embody the change you've been chasing. Every act of discipline whispers, "I'm capable." Every moment of effort tells your future, "I'm coming for you." Eventually, those whispers become your reality. Reinvention isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about showing up on the days you feel unmotivated, uncertain, or afraid, and doing something anyway. That's where true transformation lies, not in bursts of inspiration, but in quiet, consistent movement. The small steps you take each day may not look powerful at first, but they are the foundation of the new life you're building, one steady choice at a time. You don't need a perfect start, just the willingness to begin again. One of the biggest illusions people carry is the belief that they must have everything figured out before taking the first step. They wait for clarity, motivation, or ideal conditions, thinking that when everything aligns, that will be the moment to act. But life doesn't reward perfection, it rewards movement. Waiting for the perfect start only leads to stagnation because perfection is a moving target. It doesn't exist. What truly matters is the courage to begin, even when the path is uncertain, the timing feels wrong, and fear whispers that you're not ready. Every great journey starts with hesitation. No one feels fully prepared when they take their first step towards something new. The difference between those who change their lives and those who don't isn't talent, luck, or opportunity. It's willingness. The willingness to fail, to learn, to be uncomfortable, and to try again. That willingness transforms uncertainty into experience and fear into confidence. Every attempt, no matter how imperfect, brings you closer to who you're meant to become. The moment you start, you separate yourself from the millions who only dream but never dare. When you take imperfect action, you invite growth into your life. Mistakes become lessons, setbacks become teachers, and progress becomes inevitable. Each small move forward builds momentum, and that momentum soon replaces fear with faith. The first step doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Starting imperfectly is still infinitely better than waiting endlessly, because once you begin, clarity starts to form. You start to see what works, what doesn't, and what needs to change. The act of doing reveals what the mind alone could never discover. The truth is, beginnings are rarely glamorous. They are messy, uncertain, and full of doubt. But they are also beautiful because they represent hope, the belief that something better is possible. Every time you choose to begin again, you're reclaiming your power from the past. You're telling yourself that no mistake, no delay, no failure can permanently define you. That decision, repeated enough times, becomes a way of life. You stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. You stop fearing failure and start trusting growth. The willingness to start imperfectly is the seed from which transformation grows. Because in the end, it's not the perfect start that changes your life. It's the imperfect one you finally decide to make.